Hi there! Today I want to show you my recipe for plum mush or prune mush. You can use both fruits. It doesn't make a big difference, depends on what you find at the stores. So you need a big pot, and then I started with 2 kilograms of prunes, which I sliced into very small pieces and took out the stone, of course, and put all of them into the pot. And just to be clear, we are making plum mush, not plum jam. So this will not be a jam that you can keep for years. It's just a mush. Still, I'm sure you can keep it for a year, but normally I eat it much quicker. After we have cut all the fruits, we add 200 grams of sugar. You can use white sugar, you can use brown sugar, whatever type of sugar you want and how much you want. I try to stay at a lower level because the fruit itself is also sweet enough. And so 10% should be okay. And then I add the most important thing for me, which is cinnamon. I love cinnamon, and so I normally add a big amount because it's just a great taste, but you should have at least 1 tablespoon or 2, as you prefer. Our next ingredient is some vanilla. You can use just powder or juice or whatever you have at hand. I would take 1 tablespoon of it just to make it a bit smoother. And then we add some lemon zest. I use the zest of half a lemon normally. After we have added the lemon zest, we just take the pot and put it on the stove. And for the beginning, maximum heat, so it starts boiling very quickly. And in total, we cook the whole thing for, let's say, 20 minutes. But we start stirring it, and then we add some water just to make sure it doesn't stick and burn on the bottom of the pot. And stir it often enough so it doesn't burn. While our plum mush is cooking, we start preparing for the next step. This means that we take all the jars that we have for it. Normally, if I have 2 kilos of fruit, we take out the stones, we add the sugar and so on. So I try to have enough glasses for 2 kilos of content, which normally is a bit more than needed, but it's better to have a reserve there than not having enough jars at the end. Of course, make sure that the jars are very clean and closed since the last time you cleaned them, so you don't have any dust in them. And what I then do is I just sort them out. I take the lids off and I put the lids always just in the back of the single jar, so I don't have to look then which lid is going onto which jar. And another thing, as we will fill the plum mush in when it's really boiling hot, the important thing is that you put something under the jars because they are of glass. So if you put something boiling in it, with the heat they might break. You can also use a kitchen cloth. That's the same result. It's working. The point is, if some jam or some mush is dropping on it, and this will happen, then you have to wash it, and the red fruit color is not really easy to wash out. So me personally, I take paper towel because then I just don't care and throw it away. See, now all my jars are aligned on the paper towel and the lids are just positioned behind them. So as soon as we are ready filling in the mush, then we can close them and turn them around. We will see that later on, and we are done. As mentioned at the beginning, you should often stir the whole fruit mush just to make sure that it doesn't burn underneath, and stir and stir and stir. This is what you have to do for 20 minutes, just every few minutes, just stir it. As the flame on this burner is already at the lowest level, I am just shutting it down and putting the pot on another burner which is smaller, so it will not cook that high. So once we have a lot of liquid in the pot, and look at that color, isn't that fantastic? So that is the consistency you are looking for. So at that moment we can just shut down the fire and prepare ourselves to put the mush into the jars. So the pot is right close to the jars, and I have taken a funnel with the big opening at the bottom, so we can just fill it in without losing that much of mush while working. And then we start slowly filling in the mush into the single jars. I'd seen before that the third bottle, this one, has an opening which is too small for the funnel, so I take it out right now as it will be not needed. Just another little tip, keep the smallest jar as a last one, because if you have enough mush for a complete jar, that's fine, but at the end, normally you have a little bit remaining, and then you are happy to have a small jar for that. And now we start closing the lids. Pay attention because the jar is hot, so that's why I use this tablecloth to hold them on the bottom. And yeah, just close the lids very firmly and then turn them around so that the hot mush will then disinfect the lid of the jar. I am sharing the good and the bad moments with you, so be prepared. A bad moment coming soon. What I've learned is if you have those jars that you close with those thingies, don't turn them around. It's not a good idea, but I had to learn this by myself right now. And whoa! I had to clean half of the kitchen by now. Now that we have turned around all the normal jars, we just put them all together, still on the paper towel, and leave them there for a few hours until they are cold. And then after a few hours, you just turn them around, and don't be surprised if you hear a certain knock knock after that time. This means that the vacuum is building itself up. And then we leave it there and clean the kitchen, of course. Good morning! It is the next morning and I am just preparing my porridge with the plum mush, and I want to show you how this works. So I have some milk, let's say 100 milliliters. If you eat more, then take more. It's just my portion. And I have some oatmeal. You can also prepare some pancakes or use the plum mush on cornflakes, or just put it on some cookies or on an apple pie. Apples and plums together are perfect. So we warm up the milk with the oatmeal. Once my porridge is done, I prepare all the other ingredients. First of all, of course, our plum mush. And look at that color, isn't it wonderful? Then I have some yogurt, but you don't need that. I just like to have this a bit fresh part too. And then, of course, also instead of cow milk, you can use almond milk, oat milk, coconut milk, soya milk, whatever you prefer. And yeah, and the last thing I add on then is, again, cinnamon. I have always a jar ready with cinnamon and sugar mixed, and this is just my topping on the whole thing. So I hope you enjoyed this breakfast, again, in all the variations that you can use as mentioned, and have just a marvelous breakfast and enjoy your day. Bye! Please leave me a like, subscribe to my channel, and as always, be kind.